Another thing that really is at the heart of the way that the church deals with gender-based violence, and even the scenarios like the one that you've just explained, is spirituality.
Yeah.
The gospel, the principles
Yes.
of peace, of bringing people together, and really, being peacemakers and finding resolutions to issues. In some of the instances that I've come across in my work as a lawyer,
Yes.
you will advise your client that get a divorce.
Yes.
Because there are irreconcilable
Yes,
differences
definitely.
here.
Yeah,
A lot has happened here, but in the church, the encouragement might be stick it up.
Okay.
It's a test from God.
Yeah.
This is what God is wanting you to do. He wants to see. In other words, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
And is this not also fueling?
I think it's a
Gender-based
general
violence?
it's a general assumption. It's a general assumption that the world has about the church when it comes to that. I say that because we have sat with many different couples, which we have advised and said, go and pack your bags and go home. Something that no one will accept to come from a pastor. I don't know how many that you will sit down with and say, you know what, go and pack your bags and go home. Go and pack your bags. I can count them for you. I can count them for you. So that's why I'm saying it's a general assumption. But when you get into the space where the work is being done, you realize that I obviously will not come out in the open on the pulpit here and say, go and get a divorce.
Why is that? I think this is what I'm but behind closed doors, you say,
my first natural instinct is to save a marriage, which I think is your first instinct as a lawyer. Before you immediately say, go and get a divorce, you try all avenues. You try this, and you interrogate where you need to interrogate and so forth. And so, and I think that's what we do as well. Where you say, okay, because when someone comes, they tell you a story today. I don't know how many have come and told me a story, and say, Pastor Danette, but I don't take it at face value. Okay. I want to hear more, but I also want to hear another side. You want to hear another marital issues, you also want to hear another side. And not once, not twice, not 3 times, several times, so that you pick consistency. Issues of consistencies. Here there is no consistency. Here there is consistency. I think this one is not on the right side. This one should adjust there for this thing to work. This marriage is kushandai. I don't know how many I've helped to go through. There are some presently that I'm helping go through a divorce.
wow.
This is you'll be surprised that you are dealing with an elder. Who married another elder, and you realize that this elder is violent. And the one that we've been dealing with last year for some time, it has to do with violence. It's an elder in church. At church on Sunday, the man is all good, suited up, but at home, to an extent that the wife told me and said, if only they knew what kind of a man this is, So we said, you know what? Let's do a divorce. Let's help you. Let's put everything that's necessary to help you get the divorce. And I think the reason why they will take a general stance, it's easy to say let's pray about it, but some things don't need prayer. Prayer must actually enhance and help you make the right decisions. Prayer doesn't make decisions for you, by the way. So after I meet whatever challenge I'm facing, I then need to sit down and say, okay, I have to make a decision here. The Holy Spirit must then help me with Ndika Garab and Nofa.
So for that clarity.
Yes. So for that clarity. And also, many, I think, in the clergy don't want to be associated with I was part of that divorce. And I think the reason why we will not put it out on the first instance is because vanodanana advisor nasimangwana unowana wachikisana wachitodanana and they will say, you know what, I told out tirambani
He wasn't with us. Bishop Baba nokunaka.
Exactly. Vangu vachida kuti nditorambana even nemukadzi wangu. Whereas if you are dealing with a spouse where the wife comes to church and the husband doesn't come to church, you have to be very careful. You know, you have to be extremely careful because you may be dealing your church member who is actually the one misbehaving at home more than the husband. You know.
Quite interesting, and I'm happy you're sharing, you know, your perspectives there.
Yeah.
And one thing that I definitely take away from that is that prayer is not a substitute for common sense.
No, it's not.
Prayer is not a substitute for being reasonable.
Yes, it's not. Even him, God, he says, come, let's reason together.
Because many people
He's
seem
a
to
reasoning
think,
God. He's a reasoning God. Yeah, he's a reasoning God. The reason why many people take that avenue, it's the easy way out, you know. And many people don't want, I don't know, I mean, in your profession as a lawyer, I'm sure you have seen that when you are dealing with divorce cases, what I have seen is the two parties, no one wants to pull the plug, you know. No one wants to pull the plug, you know. I want the divorce, but I don't want to pull the plug.
Those ones in that case will
Exactly.
That's it. So,
Exactly.
so definitely
Yes.
society is still playing a big role
He's still playing a big
in the
role.
way that either victims or perpetrators of gender-based
Yes.
violence are perceived.
Yes.
And within the church, they're not safe, I think. It
No.
still applies here.
It
as
still
well.
applies.
Bishop-
That's why you will not get many cases come out openly, or people come to, because someone who probably comes to church here, they'll not want me to know that they are beating their wife, or that the wife is beating their husband, you know,
Or that the husband is being beaten
or
by
the
his
husband
wife.
is being beaten by his wife. You know, cases where, I mean, I've had ugly cases, you know, in the past 22 years of being a pastor, where a spouse will tell you that, Pastor, your church member has denied me sex for the past 1 year.
So I'm going to beat them.
No, I'm not even beating them, but I'm trying to show you that, okay, there is the case. There is the man. He doesn't even come to your church. He comes and he tells you all those kind of things, you know. So I say, what do you want me to do with this information? Do you want me to confront your wife? What do you want me to do? Say, Pastor, please talk to her. She must know that you know how she behaves at home. So that already then affects their participation and so forth and so, because many people don't want their other side to be known. They want to be known as nice Ningi, sister Ningi, my Ningi, Baba Ningi. The other side, no. Yeah.
And you know, as you're saying that, I'm actually thinking maybe even of some of the unreported cases of marital rape.
Yes.
That are happening because, you know, again in the church, I suppose it becomes even more difficult to deal with because it's an even hotter potato. We say because we're married, I'm supposed to, but I suppose, you know, have you had cases of marital rape? Are you letting your congregation know that consent is still something that must exist even in marriage?
Well, we have not gotten to that extent yet. But I mean, I think the Lord has sent you.
So now part is the next week.
Next week.
Honestly. The next week.
No, but you know, like you know, 2024 January, I touched on most of these things.
Really?
I touched on most of these things, on options that are there. That sometimes you have to make a decision, or sometimes you even have to go for separation. You know, I think if people go back online and they check my messages 2024 January, where you describe different kinds of women, you'll be surprised, Rumbi, how much abuse pastors go through in their homes. You'll be surprised. You know, so all the then mistakes that you then see publicly, they're then outlets. And not that I'm saying, you know what, let's forgive them for what they've done and things like that. But you'll be surprised how much, you know, a pastor goes through, you know, at home, and the spouse knows that, you know what, you're a pastor. There are things you can't do, and you won't even beat me. You see, so you have to take it in. A very simple example is John Wesley, you know, the founder of Methodist Church.
Yes.
If you go into the history of John Wesley, you'll be surprised how much violence he had to endure. You know, where the wife would come when he's in a meeting, and you know, she will come and pull him by his hair from the pulpit, and all those kind of things. You know, several times of those abuses. And how did he deal with it? You know, he had to spend more time out and working for God. So I will not divorce my wife. That was him. Because I think also these things, they then have to come to a place of conviction, especially when it comes to divorce issues and all those kind of things. Yeah.
I didn't know that about John Wesley.
Yes.
I certainly will dig deeper into
Yes,
that,
please,
and
please.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
It's important to also consider, I think there are other forms of gender-based violence where it manifests in terms of sexual harassment,
Yeah.
which can also manifest. I do understand that the ministry is for male and female participants at different ages in their lives and so on and so forth. How do you deal with cases of sexual harassment within the church, which is also a form of gender-based violence?
Well, I think it depends how cases come out, you know, and I think the willingness of those harassed as well. I think they play a key role in solving whatever case that may be, you know. But we have not really had that case where someone comes and reports and says, I'm being harassed sexually, you know, in this particular setup, in a sense. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I hope it stays that way, because we've also
Yes.
heard some instances of maybe someone being prayed for, someone getting some extra, you know, assistance with the problem and so on in a closed space,
In
and
a
then,
closed
you know,
space.
certain things then start to happen. We've also been hearing about that.
Yes. We had a conversation with our pastors here just 2 weeks ago, 6 of us, because we were talking and saying, gentlemen, how do we protect each other from sexual sins and anything that's around that particular area, you know. So I think those conversations, they then help you, you know, say, you know what, we need to guard ourselves, we need to guard each other, you know. You're not found in a compromising space, Magavarana, Muritu, and all those kind of things. So even when I do my meetings and I'm meeting with people of the opposite sex, you are I have a visitors lounge. It's open, it's got glass, anyone can walk in, my secretary can walk in anytime and things like that. So that helps as well. You know, that helps as well. Yeah.
Fantastic. And being proactive, I think, about it is also quite
proactive.
important.
Yes, yes.
It's also quite important.
Yes. And having cameras in the offices.
I think that's also equally important
Yes.
for your protection, for
Yes,
the protection of
Yes.
those seeking your help as
Yes.
well.